Every tag you've ever read says spring is the time. The internet says midsummer planting is a gamble. So you wait, and the bed stays empty, and fall comes, and nothing happened. Here's what nobody puts on the tag. 5 perennials root faster in warm July soil than they ever would in cold April ground. Not despite the heat, because of it. Warm soil is exactly what their roots want. You just need to know which 5 and one simple rule that keeps them from scorching while they settle. Let's start with the one that's probably already blooming in your neighbor's yard. You've probably heard that you need to get perennials in the ground by Memorial Day. Maybe you even tried it. And now it's July and you missed the window, and you're staring at a flat of plants at the garden center, thinking, what's the point? Purple coneflower is the point. Echinacea. The big daisy-looking thing with the orange center and the drooping petals already blooming on the shelf. That one. And here's the thing. A container-grown coneflower planted in July is not fighting the heat. It's using it. This plant evolved on the American prairie. It has a taproot that dives straight down like it has somewhere to be, and warm soil is what makes that root move fast. Cold April ground slows everything. A July planting in warm soil can establish a root system in 2 weeks that would take a spring planting twice as long to build. And because coneflower sets its flowers on new growth, if you buy a blooming plant right now, it blooms right now. The catch is simple, and this is the rule that applies to everything in this video. Warm soil, cool roots. You want the soil warm for rooting, but you need to keep the surface cool so the roots don't dry out between waterings. That means 2 to 3 inches of mulch on the surface, kept 1 to 2 inches back from the stem itself so the crown doesn't rot. After planting, do a slow soak. Let the water run long enough to settle the soil around the roots, not just wet the top inch. Then check moisture by sticking your finger a knuckle deep every 2 to 3 days for the first 2 weeks. If it's dry, water. If it's still damp, leave it. About 1 inch per week total, rain included, is where you're aiming. Plant in the evening if it's been hot. That's it. Space them 18 to 24 inches apart in full sun, 6 or more hours, and you're set. Zones 3 through 9, which covers almost everyone watching this. That's the full setup. Everything else in this video works the same way. Warm soil, cool roots. Here's one that's probably still bothering you. Last year, or maybe the year before, you planted what the tag called a black-eyed Susan. It bloomed all summer, looked fantastic, and then, next spring, it didn't come back. Or it came back weaker, and then quietly vanished. And you assumed you did something wrong. Wrong spot, wrong watering, wrong something. You didn't do anything wrong. You were sold the wrong plant. Most of what garden centers label as black-eyed Susan is Rudbeckia hirta, a short-lived plant that's technically a biennial or annual. It acts perennial enough to fool you the first season. Then it's gone. The tag doesn't explain this. You'd have to already know to ask, and why would they tell you when you're just going to buy another flat next summer? The plant you actually want is Rudbeckia fulgida goldsturm. That's the name to look for, specifically. It spreads slowly underground by rhizomes, not aggressively, just steadily. And it sets its buds on new summer growth, which means a July planting can still get you flowers this season. You're not starting too late. You're planting at the exact right moment to catch its natural bloom window, which runs July through September depending on where you are. Space goldsturm about 18 inches apart in full sun. Hardy in zones 3 through 9, and once it's settled, warm soil, cool roots, it just keeps coming back. The clump you plant this summer will be bigger next year and bigger again the year after that. So no, it wasn't you. It was the name on the tag, which told you everything, except what actually mattered. Catmint gets a bad reputation in midsummer because by July, a lot of people's catmint looks like a collapsed pile of gray-green stems in the middle of a bed. It sprawls. It flops. If you bought one in spring and it looked like that by August, you figured the plant was just a mess and moved on. Here's what nobody told you to do. Cut it right after you plant it. Nepeta Walker's Low is the one to buy. Ignore the name, it gets about 2.5 feet tall and spreads close to 3 feet wide. When you get it home and into the ground in July, shear the top third off before you even step back to admire it. It feels punishing. Do it anyway. Less leaf area means less water. The plant has to move from roots that haven't fully settled yet. You're reducing the demand before the supply chain is set up, and that cut triggers fresh, tight growth from the base. Short, upright flowering shoots that bloom harder and later into the season than anything you'd have gotten from the tired original stems. You end up with a tidy dome of lavender blue flowers with bees working every inch of it in August and September, instead of a sprawling mat that you're stepping around and apologizing for. Deer leave it alone. The leaves have that fuzzy, aromatic quality that slows water loss on its own. Warm soil, cool roots, and then the plant does half the work itself. There's probably a spot in your yard you've given up on. Dry strip along the driveway. A gravelly slope that nobody wants. A corner that bakes all day. And everything you've tried there has either flopped or fried. You've stopped putting expensive plants in it. You've stopped thinking about it. That is the exact spot for Russian sage. And the reason everything else failed there is exactly why this will thrive. You'll find it sold as Salvia yangi at some nurseries, still as Perovskia at others. Look for either name. It grows 4 to 5 feet tall with stems that turn almost silver gray and a haze of tiny lavender blue flowers that lasts from midsummer into fall. It looks like a cloud that someone anchored to the ground, and the hotter and meaner the spot, the better it performs. The leaves are finely cut, almost feathery, with a silver coating that reflects light and slows water loss. This plant is physically built to shed heat. What kills it isn't sun. It's too much water or too much fertilizer. Rich soil makes the stems stretch out and collapse. Overwatering rots the roots. So, in the spot where you've been neglecting everything anyway, Russian sage finds exactly what it needs. Full sun, sharp drainage, lean soil. Don't amend the bed. Warm soil, cool roots still applies. Mulch it in, give it steady moisture the first 2 weeks while the roots settle, and then step back. Genuinely step back. This plant wants your neglect, and it will reward it with something that looks like you planned it all along. By July, most gardeners have landed in one of 2 places with new plants. Either they're watering twice a day out of anxiety, or they've decided to let things go and see what happens. Both usually end the same way. Too much water rots, roots in summer heat. Too little, and a newly planted thing crisps inside the first week. Autumn Joy's stone crop takes that whole problem off the table. Hylotelephium. Autumn Joy, still sold as sedum at a lot of nurseries, has fleshy stems and leaves that store water the way a succulent does. If you miss a watering, the plant draws on its own reserves. If the week gets hot and you're not around, it handles it. Plant it now in July and it will still set its big flat flower heads by September, dusty rose blooms that start as tight broccoli-like buds and open into full color. Right when everything else in the garden is giving up. Grows about 18 to 24 inches tall and wide. Zones 3 through 9. The one rule that matters here, keep the mulch off the crown. More than any plant in this video, stone crop rots if you pile organic material against its base. Keep the donut shape, 2 to 3 inches of mulch around the plant, pulled back a clean inch or 2 from the stems. Skip the rich soil, too. Average to lean keeps the stems upright and the plant from flopping open at the center. Give it full sun. That's genuinely it. Warm soil, cool roots, and a plant that does its own bookkeeping on the weeks when you can't be there. The bed doesn't have to stay empty. Coneflower gives you color this season. Goldsturm gives you the black-eyed Susan that actually comes back. Catmint rebounds from a midsummer cut into a second wave of bloom. Russian sage thrives in the spot where everything else quit. Stonecrop handles the heat waves you're not home for. This week, Find the sunniest 4x4 patch you have. Saturday evening, drop in 2 gold sturm 18 inches apart. They're the easiest starting point. The stakes are low, and you finally have the right plant. Lay 2 to 3 inches of mulch around them. Pull it back an inch from the stems,